Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wiser Women in the Spotlight interview series. I am Yvonne A. Jones, relationship marketing strategist, personal business coach, and your host for today. Now, in today's interview, our Wiser Woman in the Spotlight is Munira Zahabi. Welcome, Munira.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. I appreciate it. I thought I'd share my video to my group, so thank you.
You're very welcome. Please feel free to do that. All right. Now, I also want to welcome those of you who are joining us live, as well as those of you who will be watching the replay later on. Now, as the founder of the 15 Wiser community on Facebook, this is a group of women who want to give more, do more, and be more. It's my honor and delight to spotlight the women of this community. So let's get right into our interview by learning more about Munira. Now, Munira Zahabi is the Niche Navigator, and she's an author, speaker, influencer, and entrepreneur from Chicago, Illinois. Now, through her business, she has influenced many people to navigate to their niche. She's the co-author of 3 books, and she recently authored the book, The Philosophy of Niche Principles, Understanding the Principles That Navigate You to Your Niche. Sounds pretty intriguing, right? Now, that's not the only thing that's intriguing. Earlier this week, when Munira and I spoke, she told me that she would be sharing with us, her secrets to the I.I.E principle. Now, my curiosity was immediately aroused because I have no idea what that is. Do you? Well, let's hear her. Let's give her a chance to tell us what that is all about. Take it over, please, Munira.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Such a pleasure to be here. Amazing. Most people are anxious to improve their circumstances, but they're not anxious to improve themselves, right? And people complain. We hear people complaining all the time. And I have found that the I.I.E philosophy works very well because it's the 3 principles that I have taken into play in my life, right? When I was 6 years old, I was commissioned by my father to be the secretary for the day. My job was to be his secretary. I got up early, I got ready, we went to work, and it took us 40 minutes to go to downtown Nairobi, where the office was. My father parked the car, we passed a park, we passed all of the stores, some were open, some were not. And we walked around the corner into the building where my dad's office was. And his office was on the 4th floor. And we took the old elevator. I don't know if you remember these, but these were the old elevators with the accordion doors. And you had to manually close them.
Mm-hmm.
It was so much fun as a kid to get in one of those because you had to literally latch it correctly. And then we got onto the 4th floor, got out of it, walked a few steps, turned left into the corridor. I remember this very well. The corridor was very dimly lit, dark but dimly lit. We walked towards the office, and the door to the office on a Monday morning was slightly ajar. My father always carried his briefcase, and he gave me his briefcase and told me to get behind him. He braced himself thinking somebody was ransacking the office. We walked in and the door to the main office was open. So we entered into a waiting room and there was a few chairs there. And there was an old looking man, balding, wearing silver glasses round. And he looked up above his glasses and I thought his shirt was too big for his body. And he told my dad 2 things. You're late. I don't know exactly what happened after that, but what happened was I was put in the waiting room, the door to the office was closed, and all I could hear was heated conversation. My dad, after what seemed an eternity, came out of the office And he must have forgotten that I was there, because I had to run out of the office, into the elevator, out into the streets behind him, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was only 6 years old. I could tell my dad was furious. And what he did was, we walked towards, we walked back around the corner. We walked in, we passed all the stores, and we got to the park, and he found a bench and he sat there. My dad was 6'2", tall, dark. He was the type of person that you never asked another person for help if you wanted your car to be pushed and if it was stalled, right? He was that strong of a man. And if he held my hand, I could put two of mine in one of his. He was a big man. And I was just 6 years old. But what he did was, he sat on the bench. He put his elbows on his knees, his face in his hands, and he started crying. I had never seen my dad cry, ever. What I pieced together was that he was working in this office. He was a general manager of a company that was headed by his cousin. And when his other cousin got married, they pulled the rug off under my dad's feet and gave the position to this wry-looking old man. And I always felt that, family keeps family together, but they didn't have a problem just pushing my dad out. He had taken this business from 0 to 8, 0 to 10 in 8 years, spent a lot of time in this business, working like it was his own. And, it reminds me of the people who go to jobs or who do things for other people and think it's their own, only to be pushed aside, right? Mm-hmm. My dad and my mom had these quiet conversations. They were worried. They didn't know what to do. And I knew life as we knew it was going to change. Now, we were not poor, but we were not very rich. We were just getting by. And that was okay, because that's how life is, and everybody just does that. But my dad got very, very quiet. He didn't laugh. He was very worried because my mom was sick and her medicines were expensive. And there in Kenya at that time, they didn't have insurance or concept of insurance or any of that. So one day my father came home and he had with him a very old typewriter. And over the years, he always said that it was this old man, a person that was the father of a customer that he had. He went to the store asking for work, right? And what happened was, the old man said, "Why are you asking for work when you've been a general manager? Why can't you do this on your own?" And he initiated the idea, which is my first I, the I.I.E concept. It was an initiation of the idea that the old man put in his head, and he said, "You are going to do this. I will give you all of the business if you initiate and create your own business and start working for yourself. No, none of this should be, I'm going to go find a job." It took 2 months, right? It took 2 months for this idea to take seed. But the season had to be right when the seed was planted. And my father got to a point where he was going to take this business and initiate, implement, and execute. He used to be the middleman for a company out there, where companies out in China and Hong Kong, where these people would manufacture things and then give these items to manufacturers in Kenya. And what my father did was, he took it to a second level, because he didn't go for the same things that his cousin's business was doing. He went and found other commodities that the wholesalers and manufacturers in Kenya needed. And he started doing his own import. The business was still going when my father passed away 32 years later. But he did it. But it takes that one idea to be implemented and then takes one idea to be initiated, implemented, and executed. That's my I.I.E principle. Because many times we get these ideas and we don't want to take the uncomfortable action because we don't know, one, how to do it, or we also talk ourselves out of it.
Mm-hmm.
When you initiate and implement, I guarantee that the doors will open. But take that seed that has been planted to create new avenues of how you're going to take your business somewhere else. So that's my I.I.E principle.
That's an awesome story. So let me see. So the first I is idea. The second I,
yes.
The second I is initiate.
No, the first I is initiation. The second one is implement.
Okay.
And the third one is execute.
But you have to have the idea in order to do all of these.
Yes.
Right.
The first one.
No, that is excellent. That I.I.E principle or philosophy is excellent. But what do you see as the biggest stumbling block for would-be entrepreneurs or those who have taken a little step but they haven't gone fully into this? Kind of like your dad. You know, when he had the typewriter and he went to get a job because, you know, he probably didn't see himself at that point in the position. He was still probably in thinking back where he was and thinking that he had to go and look for a job, and someone else put that idea in his head. Now, for entrepreneurs or those who want to pursue, what do you see as the biggest stumbling block for them?
These three stumbling blocks, right? One of them is self-doubt. Can I do it? Can I do this? Why should I do it? Why would anybody believe me? Why would anybody buy from me? That other person is already established. He already has customers. Why me? But the thing that makes you why you is why not you. My father's rug was pulled from under him. He had the skills. We all have the skills. We just have to figure out a creative way to put it out there. So that's self-doubt. The second one, people think, oh, to start a business, I need money. You don't. You need an idea. Money will come later. Yes, if you are in a manufacturing plant or you need to put on a patent of some kind. But if you are just starting out, you have all the ingredients in your pantry. It could be your toolbox, it could be your pantry, it could be anything, but you have the toolbox. So stop thinking about why not? Because there's a lot of free tools out there that you can use. And the third one is listening to other people, because they will surely talk you out of it. You always want to find role models that have paved the way, have gone forward, who are 2 steps ahead of you. Not 20 steps ahead of you, but 2 steps. Because they are the ones who are doing it and killing it now. And if they can find success, why not you?
Exactly. And I love that point about 2 steps, because a lot of times we compare ourselves to individuals who have been doing this 15, 20 years, and we have no idea. We don't take the time to really discover what challenges they went through to get them to the point where they are at today. And so you're comparing yourself with someone who has been in business, who has gone through a lot of hoops. And we think that we will always come up short if we compare ourselves. So it's really, as you mentioned, I really like that, is aligning yourself with people who are going to push you forward. And being 2 steps ahead, you haven't forgotten what you went through. So you're able to pull the next person up to where you are. And that's what we want to do, right?
And there are people out there who are not going to help you. They're not. They're just born that way. But you don't have to say it's you. You go find somebody else, because there's 7 billion people on this earth, and more being born every single day, those people will help you. The thing is, everybody wants to talk about their success stories. If you ask them the right questions, they will tell you. Now, success to everybody is different. You know, for some, it's, oh, if I could only get $500 to feed my family for the week. For some, it's $5,000 for a whole month. But success is different to everybody else. But if you ask the right questions, people will tell you what they did. You know, everything around us, if you look around wherever your viewers are sitting, if they're watching this, look around you. Everything that you have around you was an idea. It just didn't happen. Somebody's idea was initiated, implemented, and executed.
And for many of us, as you said, self-doubt, for many people, that's a huge thing because they fear, again, and also you mentioned self-doubt and what was it? Listening to other people. Yes. Right, because it's one thing to doubt yourself, and then when somebody else affirms that, rather than encouraging you and they affirm that no, it won't work, then you have two things going against you. So it's having that self-confidence that's going to help you to discover where your limits are. Sometimes it's so untapped, we have no idea where we can reach if we allow ourselves.
When I first became the Niche Navigator, people told me, nobody's ever going to buy from you. Okay. You know, everybody out there is teaching how to find your niche. People who are confused. Well, okay. And then I started listening to those people who are teaching, and my teaching is completely different. So there are going to be people in the market doing the same thing as you. But all you have to figure out, and what my coach says, is find those 3 people who are doing something that's similar to what you are doing. And then find the gaps that they are missing. Because if you fill in those gaps, you are now going to be a unique person. But, you know, like I had a client who I met in a grocery store, you know, they used to give us those samples when we go there. And she was heating the cake up in the microwave and she didn't like it. And she voiced it to me. And I said, why aren't you not baking the cakes that you think are so healthy? She thought that, and I write about her in my book. And she said, you know, my mother said, and my sister said that there's a cake shop around the corner. Every corner you go to, every grocery store has one. I said, what makes you unique? You are telling me yours are healthy. Can you make me a dozen? And hers were, because if you bit into one, you know, it was like moist, but it was healthy. It was made out of applesauce. One of her key ingredients is applesauce. She doesn't use sugar. So people who are on a gluten-free diet or people who are watching their weight should eat those cakes. The grocery store doesn't care. They're not going to make you gluten-free, specially made for you. And she made me 3 berry ones and then 3 carrot ones and 3 zucchini ones. And I couldn't even taste the difference between the carrot one and the zucchini one. I was like, this is a cake. I'm going to eat it. But I had to take something so hard. And why not take something that's healthy, right? And she has now gotten to a point where she's given up her full-time job and she makes cakes all the time. And who doesn't like cakes, right? So the thing is, where there is self-doubt and where you start listening to something else, you need to get out of that and say, you know what, I'm listening to you. Thank you so much. I am not going to entertain this idea because I know what I got to do. And you do. That's it. That's all it takes. But it takes a little while because you have to exercise that muscle.
Yes, you do. And you have to build that confidence to be able to withstand all the negativity that's going to be coming at you and say, thank you. As you just said, thank you. Let me do it my way. If I fail, it's on me, but thank you. And you let it go. So, all right, we're almost at the end of our time. This has been wonderful. Love your story. what would be a last tip or a last statement that you would make to encourage those who have something that's within them, but they haven't yet put it together so that it materializes into something that they can take to the market? What would you encourage them to do? That idea that may be just forming in their heads.
There are a lot of things that you can do, but the first thing is to start. Sitting and simmering in the sauce is what I call it. Just thinking, what if? No, start. Even if you have 2 people who come listen to you, if you're telling a story, if you are making a recipe, whatever, just start. Because you know what? At the end of the day, if you believe in it, then you can achieve it. Nobody else needs to believe in it. So if you know this is something for you, just begin. Just begin. Many people have come and told me, you wrote a book. I don't know how to write a book. Yes, you do. Well, you need some kind of software. No, you don't. You have a phone with you. I can show you. It's there with you all the time. Download a notes page or go to Google Docs. Everybody now has a Gmail account. Go to Google Docs. They give it to you for free and start writing. And you know what? With Google Docs, you can just talk to it. Just hit the microphone icon and just talk to it, and it will type it for you. Just put your thoughts down, because writing a book is putting your thoughts down on paper. Second, you then find an editor who is going to clean it up. But that's the second part. If you don't have a word, if you don't have a sentence, if you don't have a paragraph, you don't got a story. So start. That's what I tell people. All you have to do is start.
Get started. Start somewhere, but start.
Yes.
Munira, this has been wonderful. I really appreciate your clarifying that I.I.E principle, or philosophy as you call it. Very significant. And thank you so much to everyone who has been watching. We had a nice group of people watching today. We value you. We appreciate you. And if you're not yet a member of the 50 and Wiser community on Facebook, and you're a woman who is 50 and Wiser, we encourage you to come over and join us, because that's a really nice dynamic group of women we have there. And it's a nice space. It's a safe space for you to be in. So again, Munira, thank you so much for being my guest today, and I look forward to talking with you again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate, honored, and humbled.
You're very welcome. So this is Yvonne A. Jones and
Munira Zahabi, your Niche Navigator.
Saying goodbye.
Bye.